If I do that exercise plan, I will look like that. I will feel like that. So that person's got ripped abdominals, that person's got big shoulders, that person's got a tight backside, that person looks fantastic. So if I do their eating and exercise plan, I can look like them. Really interesting, because a lot of people say, I don't want to look like Rowie. I don't want to have muscles. I don't want to have short hair. I don't want to look like Rowie. And I get a lot of negative comments about the way I look. And I love that because I'm a unique individual and I only look like me. Nobody else looks like me. You can't look like me even if you wanted to. My father was Hungarian, my mother was German. That makes me a hungry German. I've been exercising all of my life since the age of 10. I haven't missed a day of exercise since 10. I've done strength training and I've been heavy strength training since about 2025. Can't really remember when I started picking up proper weights, not just baby ones. And I exercise every single day. And I'm sharing that with you because my lifestyle, the way I eat, the way that I exercise, all the things that I do are completely different to most people. But even if you copied everything that I did and you were scared of, I'm going to look like Rowie, you wouldn't, because I'm a different person. You're a different person. You have a certain number of fat cells, are a certain height, your shoulders are a certain width. One of the things I always joke about, I'm a size 16 in the upper body and a size 10 in the lower body. Very complicated to buy suits or dresses because they just don't match well. But I can't change the width of my shoulders. I can't change the width of my hips. How tall I am is how tall I am. I control the things that I can control, which is how much body fat I have, how fit and strong I am, how much energy I've got. I get to choose what exercise I do and what food I eat. But just because you eat and exercise like me doesn't mean you'll end up looking like me. Of course. I find it really fascinating when people say, look at that beautiful supermodel, I'd like to look like her. Well, there's a reason that she is a supermodel. She has got incredibly good genetics. She's probably very tall, which you can't get any taller than you are now. And if you need to be shorter, you can't get any shorter if you want to be a jockey and race horses. There's so many things that we can't change. But to eat and exercise a certain way because somebody else does it is really fascinating to me. And I'm going to go a step further. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It's even stupid. Look, but I'm doing everything that person does and I don't look like that. No, of course not, because you're not them. How about this? And I have kids say this to me every day. I want to be the next Ronaldo. I want to be the next Beyonce, or I want to be the next Taylor Swift. I hear those two quite regularly with the two different age groups. I want to be the next. No, and my response is always the same. You don't want to be the next anybody. You want to be the next you. What are you going to do to add value to your world? What do you need to do to be your fittest, your strongest, have the most energy, perform at your best, look and feel your best every single day? And it's interesting because often what other people do would never suit you anyway. Most people couldn't live my life. I live a very unique and different life. The way I exercise, the way I eat is very different than mainstream anything. But what is mainstream anything? People think 3 meals a day is mainstream. There's a lot of people now that are only eating once a day. Some people eat 5 times a day. Some people exercise 3 times a week. Some people exercise every day. Some people like to eat in the morning. Some people like to eat at night time. There's a whole heap of things that are different in everybody. That's my big question. What do you like? And when I talk to exercise professionals, these are the 3 questions that I ask them. Do you know how to get people really fit? Do you know how to get people really strong? Because obviously your life's going to be better if those 2 things are going, mentally and physically. But are you fitting the eating and exercise plan into the person's lifestyle? Because if it doesn't fit into their lifestyle, they're not going to stick to it. If you give somebody 30 minutes to exercise in the morning and they've got no time in the morning, they're not going to stick to it. If you give somebody food to eat that they don't like, they might eat it for a little while, they might push their way through it, but it won't be long before they don't want to eat that anymore because they don't like it. I always ask, what do you like to eat? We'll always include that in your eating plan. What don't you like to eat? We'll never include that in your eating plan. But most importantly, if you were your own high performance eating and exercise coach, what advice would you give yourself? This ridiculous question that people often ask, just tell me what to eat and I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Please tell me. Tell me how to exercise. I'll do exactly what you tell me to do. What if it doesn't work? What if the person's an idiot and they give you stupid information? And I share that with passion and enthusiasm, because even if they're an exercise physiologist or a cardiologist or a sports strength and conditioning coach, or they've been an exercise professional for 30 years, it doesn't mean they know their stuff. And if you put 2 exercise people together and give you advice, both of them will give you different advice. You put 100 personal trainers in a room and ask for advice on how to get fit and healthy, and you'll get 100 different pieces of information. What's going to work for you? What do you like to eat? What don't you like to eat? What's the best time of the day for you to eat? When are you hungry? If you're healthy, fit and strong, is it possible that you'll eat when you're hungry and you'll stop eating when you're full? So the only three things are how to get you as fit as possible, as strong as possible, and fit that into your lifestyle. Now, what your genetics and what your body does with that after that is up to your body. Some people have more body fat or more fat cells than others. So some people might have 40 billion and some people have 60 billion. I didn't count them, but apparently there's that many. But you could have 10 billion and still be a fat person because your fat cells are full. You could have 50 billion fat cells, but you're a lean person because they're empty. And that depends on how much you eat, how much you exercise, what your metabolism is, what your base metabolic rate is, how much muscle you've got, how much energy you use up during the day. Everybody's different. So if you want to be lean, you've got to have less fat in your fat cells. Somebody just said to me recently, I feel like I'm doing well with my exercise program, but I don't know what my body fat percentage is. I better go and get a test. And I said, well, how about this? If you can see your muscles, you've got low body fat percentage. If you can't see your muscles, you've got high body fat percentage. Because low body fat percentage means that you can see the definition of your muscles. Everybody's got muscles, otherwise we'd fall over. We've all got muscles. Whether or not you can see them is simply determined by how much body fat you've got. The people, and I have lots of people say this to me, Rowie, I don't want to look like you've got too much muscle. I've got the same amount of muscle as you have. I've just maintained my muscle all of my life. But you can see muscle if it's got a low body fat percentage. So if you have a higher body fat percentage, you won't be able to see your muscle. So if you start seeing muscle definition and you don't like it, eat more fat and fill up your fat cell. That's pretty simple. But your body will do what your body does. It's not going to do what somebody else's body does. So before you say, I want to look like that person, I want to have their butt, their arms, I want to look like them, how about what are your genetics? What's your lifestyle? Could you be possibly thinking about how can I look my very best? And I don't like the word best because I like to keep getting better. As I get older, I want to get fitter and stronger and better and wiser, not best. There's that interesting expression, be your personal best or be the best person that you can be. How about just keep getting better as you get older rather than just get older and wiser and fitter and stronger and learn more and laugh more and lift heavier and have a great life every single day of your life, because we don't know how many days we've got. And if you spend a lot of time, waste a lot of time thinking about, I'd like to have her bum or I'd like to have his shoulders, or I wish I had longer legs, or I wish I had thinner hips. I could say that my whole life. I wish I didn't have these thin hips and these wide shoulders. It just is what it is. I can't change that. And there's a beautiful quote for that. Accept the things that you cannot change. Change the things you can, and make sure you've got the wisdom to know the difference. And wisdom comes from having a strong brain, and a strong brain comes from being really fit and really strong. To get fit, you've got to get puffed. To get strong, you've got to overload your muscles and bones. And if you're fit and strong, your body will look like it's the fitter and stronger you are, the better and better you'll look. Isn't that awesome? Not like somebody else, like you. So if you want to live your life to the max, get fit, get strong, have a positive attitude, get fresh air and sunshine, sleep deeply, eat all the foods that you love. Don't eat any food that you don't like, because why would you waste the calories? And could all of that create a really happy headspace? Rowie, you can't be happy every day, but what if you could? What if you decided today, I'm going to be happy every single day and live my life to the max? I'm not going to look like Rowie. Rowie looks like that, and most people don't want to look like that. Woohoo! Live your life to the max, yeah.